And so we're really pushing this idea that, like, look, Midland is not a temporary stop, and it should be a destination. The economic growth that's occurred here and the economic output of this region is phenomenal, and we need a hub that represents that. And the only way for that to happen is for Midland to invest in itself and attract outside investment. And if we do both of those, we can really become a true destination and not just a stop on the road.
Oil and gas makes modern life possible. The energy the world requires today and tomorrow will come from decisions made in the oil field today. Oil and gas will remain the leading source of fuel to power affordable energy that is sustainable for the billions of people that depend on the success of the industry. The oil field is a group of people, companies, technologies, and institutions working towards providing the world with safe, clean, storable, and transportable power. The Oilfield 360 podcast is a 360-degree deep dive into the leaders of the industry, who will provide listeners with a first-hand account of what it takes to build, maintain, and lead the energy business into the future. The Oilfield 360 podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors: Locked-In Global Energy and Marine, uncommonly independent. Locked-In is the world's largest privately owned insurance broker and risk finance advisor. Locked-In's global energy expertise is centered in Houston and represents the largest concentration of energy specialists, clients, and experiential knowledge in the upstream, midstream, and downstream segments of the oil and gas industry. Visit LockedIn.com for more information. Upright Digital. Upright Digital specializes in partnering with your business to maximize marketing efficiencies. We have a deep understanding of people, their needs, motivations, behaviors, as well as the technologies that enable brands in many industries to utilize what is available in a changing digital landscape. Find us online at uprightdigital.com.
Welcome to the Oilfield 360 podcast. My name is Josh Lowrey. I'm coming to you live from the Danny Energy Partners Permian Basin Barbecue. I am joined with the co-host extraordinaire, Mr. David Roode. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Josh. How are you doing?
What the audience doesn't know is that's my second intro of this. We had a technical error, but my first one was just phenomenal. That was pretty good, too, really.
Pretty amazing. Hopefully you don't screw this one up.
Yeah, that was pretty good. But just to let the audience know, you're going to hear some wind and some background noise. That's because we are standing outside of the DEP Barbecue, the 2023 barbecue, in front of the ProPetro World Headquarters for the week.
Yep.
At the DEP Barbecue. How are you, sir?
Doing great.
Yeah, you're gonna get introduced to a couple people here in a minute. But David,
forklift noise.
Forklift. I mean, there's like this is live action here, buddy.
It's like we're on location. Got generators and forklifts and drill pipe and all sorts of stuff going on.
I mean, it's not a joke, actually.
So, anyways, I'm glad you're here, Josh. Appreciate you being my co-host. I'm glad you're wearing some normal tennis shoes today and not multicolored shoelaces.
I'll wear those tonight.
And yeah, it's a nighttime outfit.
That's right.
But to my immediate left is a good friend of mine, Danny Wesson, who's the Chief Operating Officer at Diamondback Energy here in Midland, Texas, Permian operator. And then to his immediate left is my good friend, Sam Sledge, who's CEO of ProPetro Services, one of the top completions companies here in the Permian Basin. So appreciate you guys being here.
Welcome,
Thanks
gentlemen.
for having us.
Happy to be here. Thank y'all for having us.
You guys ever done podcasts before?
One.
Was it as cool as this?
No.
This is already way better.
Yeah.
That's right.
We might get a crowd. It might be fun.
By the way, it's pretty funny. You have a ton of friends out here, I'm sure, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so your friends come by, you find out what kind of friends they really are how badly they try to distract you on these things.
Oh, yeah.
Trust me, if mine show up, you're going to have to edit
We'll
a lot
know.
of things out. So, yeah.
So this is somewhat of an atypical podcast, and we'll be releasing this in a couple of weeks from hearing this. But anyhow, we're going to be talking about Midland and the Permian Basin today. But before we start, maybe we can start give a little background about each other real quick, and tell us why the Permian Basin is so important to you. So, Danny, you want to give a little background about yourself, about how long you've been out here in the Permian? And
Absolutely, yeah. So I've been Midland now for nearly 17 years. I've my dear friend Sam Sledge, and known him for many of those years. My wife is from Midland, Texas, and we've got 2 little kids here, and going to plan on raising our family here,
Nice.
and being in part of this community for a very long time. And I grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and went to college at LSU there, and moved here
Nice.
straight out of college. And I'll tell you, it's when I graduated college, I thought, I'll go out, to Midland, and maybe a 3-year stop on my career, and I just grew to love this place, and really it's become home. The best thing about Midland is what you put into Midland, it gives you back in dividends.
That sounds like a true Cajun right there,
Yeah.
honestly, because that's the same way Louisiana is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
the
awesome.
Culture's great, people are great, and love being here. So
What a deal. I mean, I think Louisiana people are about the nicest people there are out there. To hear that kind of coming back into the Midland area, that's a unique testimony there.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've born and raised here in Midland. I'm 3rd generation oilfield services. My family was more specifically in the drilling business ahead of me, back dating almost all the way into the 50s. So I don't really know any different, and didn't really know how unique of a place Midland was until I left town and went to school at Baylor in Waco, played a little football there, and kind of started to learn, wow, Midland is quite the unique place. The businesses my family's been in, and all of my friends at home have been in, just kind of the culture and the community, very, very unique place. And was sucked back in kind of by the boom in 2011.
Yeah.
Finished an MBA and came straight out here to learn how to drive an 18-wheeler and make connections on a wellhead. That was literally my first day at work. So just like Danny said, one of the really cool things about Midland is that it gives you back exactly what you give it. I was fortunate to jump in to a small growing company at the time, and it has given me back exactly what I've given it, if not more. So I've been with ProPetro for a little over 12 years now, and have literally worked in every corner of the business as we've grown and multiplied over the last decade plus, and had the pleasure and honor of serving the company as the CEO currently today.
Well, I just realized why we do these podcasts sitting down, because you guys are all tall and athletes, so I don't like that at all. This is former college football players is kind of ridiculous. So from now on,
Keyword former.
we will
Yeah.
be doing these
That was a
sitting
long time
down.
ago.
But
Yeah.
yes, go ahead. Let's move on. But yes, good
Well,
to
I think
see you.
it's-
Thanks for joining us, gentlemen. Of course.
Absolutely. I'm happy you guys are having us. Thank y'all for giving us the opportunity to share some thoughts.
This is great.
Yeah.
Good to have you.
I agree with you on Midland. I mean, my own experience, my wife thinks I live out here sometimes, but been coming out here for a number of years, and you just can't find a better community, and in a community that has the ability to provide a lot of support, and certainly needs to give it. And that's one of the things we want to talk about today. You want to tell our listeners a little bit about what you and Sam and Case and Will and a bunch of y'all are focused on right now, and what y'all are passionate about besides your own businesses, and what y'all are trying to do in the community?
Yeah, I'll let Sam kind of lead the charge on this, and fill in where he.
Oh, I thought you were going to lay it out for me. Come on.
Just home run.
I think we can tag team it
Yeah.
pretty hard. We've been pretty aggressive on some of the stuff, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, I think just trying to get the younger generation awake to what the opportunity is here in this unique place that's so generous to you if you come here and really dedicate yourself to it. I think really conceptually at the 30,000 foot, that's what Danny and I and a lot of our friends and other partners in the community out here have been talking about a lot lately. Midland has, I think, a lot of benefits to it. It's, I think, obvious reasons why guys like Danny and I are here growing our families, but it doesn't come without some struggles and some issues in terms of Midland's ability to push into the future in the right way. And a lot of that, as we kind of zoom into today and what the topic that is front of mind for guys like Danny and myself today is the fact that we're about to put one of the biggest school bonds in Texas state history on the ballot in November. And we're at this point in time for a lot of reasons, but frankly for me it's because I believe Midland's underinvested in itself in a significant manner. And there's a lot to talk about around that, but Danny and I have tried to be a little bit more outspoken maybe about things like this when we've been maybe a little bit more humble in the shadows about how we run our businesses and lead our careers and our families.
Yeah.
And I think we're finding that we're gaining a little bit of traction, being a little bit more outspoken about how we view Midland's future and what the opportunities are to really improve this community that we're so fortunate to live in.
Yeah, I echo all of those comments, and Midland's seen a phenomenal last decade in growth and opportunity and business growth, but unfortunately for Midland, most of the economic growth that's occurred here is exported out of the region, and we've seen the demographics of Midland over that decade of economic growth and prosperity shift as well, and the average age in Midland now something around 32 years old, and
that's crazy.
Yeah, we're the
old
guys.
Yeah, we're
That's
the old
crazy.
guys.
I'm 36.
See, I don't think people would really believe that.
Yeah, and so we're really pushing this idea that, like, look, Midland is not a temporary stop, and it should be a destination. The economic growth that's occurred here and the economic output of this region is phenomenal, and we need a hub that represents that. And the only way for that to happen is for Midland to invest in itself and attract outside investment. And if we do both of those, we can really become a true destination and not just a stop on the road.
Don Evans, right? He's involved pretty heavily in this. Isn't there a campaign name for this? I know we're talking about it, but isn't there like a
the Permian Strategic Partnership?
Yeah, that's right. Okay,
Yeah.
because I just heard he spoke in the UT Kay Bailey Hutchinson conference a couple weeks ago down in Austin, and honestly, he is passionate about this. And he was talking how he said there's more 4-year-olds in Midland than there are 80-year-olds or something, or some ridiculous amount of there's so many young children in Midland now that it blows your mind.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a lot of people saying this. Look, we're not going anywhere. You have to convince mom and dad that, hey, the schools are safe or good. The roads are safe.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't just like you said, a stop up to, like, let me get back to Houston, let me get back to New Orleans or wherever I'm trying to go.
Right.
Is how involved are guys like the Don Evans of the world that, they're planting seeds? Have you heard that phrase, that we're planting seeds that Don will never sit under that shade, right, of the tree? Are the people that have been here a long time saying this is what we need to do?
Yeah, I think Don has done a fantastic job with the Permian, the PSP, and he's a great example of somebody that's kind of born and raised here and has come back and given back to the community even more. A very influential, connected person that really knows how to rally support for things. The PSP has done a lot of amazing things and will continue to do a lot of amazing things. But I think where maybe for me personally and Danny a little bit, where we've been trying to focus our efforts is more maybe in our personal circles and in our businesses.
Okay.
Trying to wake people up to what some of the struggles Midland has had. And listen to you, Josh, talk a little bit, Josh. I think of a couple things. One, that Midland, because of the business that founded Midland in oil and gas, has been a pretty volatile, cyclical community to live in, right? Things are good, things are bad, and there's always cycles. And look, dating back to like the 80s and 90s, there's some really scary cycles that really probably left a mark and a scar on Midland. And
or 2015.
Yeah, well, 2015 as well, although I think on a global scale we were better positioned in 2015, say in 2020, when the pandemic happened, to weather some of that, where we just weren't what we were in the 80s and 90s that we are now, and just bigger from a scale standpoint. So this kind of like cyclical mentality that maybe the next bust is around the corner, and that fear really frankly in more of the older generations than guys like my age and younger, coupled with a very, very devout fiscal conservatism. We're in one of the reddest counties in the state, if not reddest counties in the country. And there's a lot of benefits to that, but some of the mindset that comes with fiscal conservatism can easily tilt towards anti-taxes. And with the way our government is organized, especially in Texas, and how you fund schools, you have to have taxes to do things. I was
like trying to figure out, like, what's the opposition to this? As we were talking, I'm like, what are we arguing about here?
So
like,
I mean,
could be the argument?
I'll kind of boil that into a couple simple statements, and Danny probably has more to say about it. It is that very devout fiscal conservatism has a mindset that we're working against when we need to invest. When we need to build for the future that is, frankly, it's here now, and it's continuing to come. The biggest age demographic is 0 to 4 years old in Midland, Texas. Yep. You got to sleep in a parking lot overnight to get a pre-K spot at a church or a school.
Yeah.
Literally, and I think Danny and I have probably both done that.
Yeah, have.
That's insane.
I think that's
insane.
It's never one thing, right? I mean, there's always multiple things. You've got the pro and con side of every decision, and Certainly the fiscal conservative nature, and look, there's a lot of fiscal conservatives who say, look, that doesn't mean no investment. It means the right kind of investment. And I truly believe that the school bond issue is the right kind of investment. It's going to provide us with the facilities and infrastructure we need, that the rock star school board that we've assembled, led by Dr. Stephanie Howard, who I believe is truly one of the best superintendents that we could have gotten to this region, has a long-term plan with goals and KPIs of strategy and things that behaviorally they're going to do, but they need the infrastructure to support that. And grade realignment is key to that. A lot of people don't realize that Midland's public education, how it's structured. So elementary school goes from K to 6th grade, then junior high is 7th and 8th grade, and then we have independent, standalone freshman campuses. So you're in your 9th grade, you go to an individual school, and then you go to high school from 10th to 12th grade. And it's just insanity, and it creates a lot of inefficiencies. It makes it very hard for them to staff that efficiently and really create the kind of culture they want to create in the school.
How many high
system.
schools are out here?
There's 2 public schools, right? 2 public high schools, and one Midland High and Midland Legacy, and that's a huge cultural rivalry in the community.
Probably a ton of fun out there too.
Oh yeah. I mean, Friday Night Lights, right here, right behind us here.
Over there, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So but look, I think we're going to be able to maintain that culture and that identity with this school bond, and then of course this investment will attract outside investment into the region, and that's what's key. So much is exported out of the region, we got to bring some investment back into the region, and we have to do that through showing that, hey, we believe in this region ourselves, and we're willing to invest in ourselves to attract everybody else to come out here.
What I've always felt somewhat funny is you hear so many folks that live in here from Houston or Dallas or Austin or whatever, and we're moving out in the desert, this, that, and the other, and maybe the company they're working for gets bought or merged or whatever.
You got to stay focused here. There's too many people moving around.
Well, where I was going with this is, you would think they would maybe go back to Dallas or Houston or whatever, but so many of them love Midland, and they stay in Midland because it's a great place to raise a family. Yeah. Despite some of the constraints that exist with infrastructure. And, I really applaud you guys for focusing on that, because it is something that needs to be focused on. I know several years ago, Tim Leach and others were really focused on, what was going on with healthcare, and PSP came along, and, I think it's early innings for the impact that is going to make on the greater Permian community. But
Agreed.
Education is critical, and I think people have got to appreciate the fact that if you're folks that you depend on, and this is a people-dependent business, if they don't have the resources they need for their family, they're going to have to make some hard choices.
That's right.
And the Permian is early innings based on what we've done with unconventional resources. I mean, we one time thought peak oil and the Permian was done, and you've got at least 50 to 100 years of easily known runway. Not to mention if we figure out better ways to do things.
Right.
I think that I've been thinking a lot about. I live in Houston, and Houston's great. Houston has tons of traffic. Yeah. Tons of humidity. Yeah. I mean, I could list you 10 things that the mosquitoes will eat your face. Yeah. Right? I mean, I can list 10 things that are miserable. Yeah. But then I can start with they're the nicest people that I can get around. I mean, then there's 10 great things. You're like, yeah, all right, I guess these 10 things are worth it. Yeah. And it's funny. It's never the things that you don't like about something. It's the 10 things you love about it that keep you there, right? And my wife and I have this struggle with Houston. I'm not from Houston, and we struggle with why do we live there sometimes. We're of that age where we could be mobile if we wanted to be. Right. And I heard that quote about, or excuse me, I was thinking about like what makes cities and societies great, and I'm like, I feel like I loved my grandfather. I'm kind of deviating just for a second here. My grandfather was my best man at my wedding. I loved my grandfather, and I miss that class of that generation, right? Those are just phenomenal human beings. And I wondered what like those guys and girls would do in moments like this. I mean, I just feel like they sacrificed so much for us in this. And I wonder, like, why aren't we doing more for this next generation. It just feels like this is mine now.
Well, and I think that's a great point, but I also think our generation has to take the initiative to take that rope, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's one thing Sam and I have been talking to a lot of our community leaders that are, of generations ahead of us, is like, look, we really feel empowered and a need to engage here. And they're like, look, great, we want you guys to. We need somebody to take this rope, but we can't just hand it to you.
Yeah, no, that's.
You got to pull on it. And so I think
it won't mean anything if they
that's
give it
right.
to you.
And I think what we're doing now is we're pulling on it, and we're trying to rally
awesome.
our generation to pull on it.
How do you feel like your quote unquote generation? I mean, your peers, how are they doing?
I think they're.
Are they engaging?
I think they are starting to realize, like, oh, okay, like it is my place to stand up and do this. Like, it's not. I'm not stepping out of line if I stand up and pull on this a little bit. And I think you've got to, the social media world we live in. It's really easy for people to be critical and bring problems without solutions. And
those are the best.
And look, there's a lot of problems we can talk about, but my rule is that we're not going to talk about a problem if we don't talk about a solution to it. So, let's be solutions oriented. Let's talk about how we can make things better in this community, and let's, as a generation, stand up and lock arms and go make it a better Midland, right? I mean,
what is it? That sounds like leadership.
Yeah.
Well,
can I add to that? Yeah, I think another thing that we are realizing, at least I'm realizing, is that how the generations younger than even Danny and I are influenced is in a totally different manner in which maybe we were influenced by the generations that came ahead of us. We know how to use our iPhones pretty good, right?
Yeah.
We know how to get on social media and say something or answer a question and do those things. And that's been totally outside of my comfort zone personally in, up to this point, living my life much more privately maybe than I am today. But I think part of, pulling on that rope from the next generation, and there's plenty of guys, not just me and Danny, plenty of other people in our community that are leaders and influencers that are trying to do that same thing that we're trying to work alongside every day. But once you get the rope, how you
take that message,
use the influence and disseminate the message, because we have a group, frankly, in maybe their 20s and 30s that's really not informed and participating in our local government like we'd like them to. So we're going to have to use some of these different tools to create change there.
Talk about that. I think it was you, Sam, or Danny. I can't remember which one of y'all were giving me statistics the other day about just voting in Midland in general, how many registered voters there are versus how many voters are actually voting. And do y'all mind sharing those demographics? Because it's a problem we've got all over the country, but
I don't have
it's incredibly important here.
I don't have the registered voter number, but the stat that stands out to me the most is in 2019 we had a bond election as well, pretty sizable one, to do some of the same things we're trying to do now, just to organize a little bit differently. 25,000 people voted in that election. Only 5,000 of those people were under the age of 40.
Oh my gosh!
So
those are good numbers. Nobody.
Literally 40 and under was not represented.
And how many people live in the Midland?
And that bond election failed by double-digit votes, less than 100 votes.
So you weren't represented.
So if you had 100 more young people go to the ballot box, Danny and I probably aren't as outspoken.
I mean, you're saying young people. You're talking under 40.
Yeah,
we're not
talking
we're not talking 18-year-olds.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's right.
God, that's crazy.
Yeah. So really, we're letting the 60, 70, and 80-year-old people that live here, which there's a lot
they
of those
kids.
too. They're making our future decisions for us.
Sure.
Yeah, we're really trying to get out. When I grew up, and maybe I'm a little aging myself a little bit here, but MTV always had this thing like rock the vote, right?
Yeah.
And trying to inspire the younger generation to go vote. And look, we're really trying to get out and rock the vote and get the get the young professional generation in Midland to get out and vote. And look, we're not, we hope you vote for the bond, but really, as the largest
you should vote for the bond.
Yeah.
the only way to date yourself any more than that is to say www. Dot whatever website. Yeah. That's what we've learned. We don't do that anymore.
That's right.
Sorry, Danny, I cut you off.
But I think the largest demographic in Midland, we want to see them, speak for themselves. We want their voice heard, right? And if their voice comes out and says, hey, we don't want this school bond, then that is what it is. But, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think people genuinely, of that generation, genuinely agree that they need this for their kids and the future of their kids here. And, look, a community is only as good as its schools. And I grew up in Louisiana, and look, public school system in South Louisiana has struggled for a long time, and it's been hard, and so I think Midland has an opportunity to try and advance itself to be a leader in education in the state. And man, we have the resources to do it.
Yep.
We just got to let them free.
I'm going to go back to something you said a minute ago on the social media aspect of it. So, we're in a lot of social media stuff, whether I want to be or not.
Yeah.
Right? We've
You
got
want to help me with that?
Well, I mean, some of it you just have to accept, like, that I'm going to do things that make me uncomfortable, right?
Right.
And because, look, being an adult, I always tell people, being a 45-year-old person that's not, I won't use the word that I usually that doesn't look like an idiot on social media is very difficult. There's a lot of self-depreciation you have to accept because you can't be cool on social media. You don't want to be cool. You're not trying to be cool. You're trying to get a message across in an uncool way, right? That's
right.
still relevant. And I did a cold plunge in a pool, and my team put me on TikTok. I care less about TikTok, but they put me on this TikTok. This thing got like 30,000 views. I go to an industry event. The CEO of a major publicly traded company comes up to me, and he walks up to me. He says, "Hey," he goes, "First of all, you need to clean your pool." and he goes, "Secondly, why are you coming through my TikTok?" And I looked at him and I said, "Please, sir, don't watch that." I was like, and he starts telling me that he has TikTok. Number one, he's 55. And two, he starts telling me that my pool is dirty. I was like, "All right, great." And then he starts saying, "Look, the joke's funny, but we need to be using TikTok and Instagram and all these for the messages of the oil and gas industry."
Yeah.
And look, for what you guys are doing, whether you like it or not, the more you can get involved in these social media, the TikToks, the Instagrams, whatever, it's better for you guys because these people are doing that type of stuff left and right. So just
That's right.
Yeah.
be aware of that.
For sure. I've been engaging and it's, look, I'm open and love people to come talk to me anytime and want to hear from people and understand what their points of view are. And my point of view is never the right one. I want to understand where everybody's coming from.
We have a policy, let's get it right, not be right.
That's right.
Yeah. So
Don't let your perfection be the enemy of the greater good.
That's right, buddy.
So that's got to be the motto.
I know we're kind of wrapping up, and I'll say just one more thing. I know we spent, I don't know how long, talking about the school bond pretty specifically. But for anybody that listens to this, especially people that are living, growing their families and their businesses in Midland, this conversation is a school bond conversation today, but it's much bigger than that. Hospitals, roads, diversifying our economy out here. There's a lot to work on to get Midland with the right foundation to be everything it can be for the future. So, I'd like to think that guys like Danny and myself are kind of just getting warmed up.
Love it.
To try and inspire more people to get informed, to get involved, and to try and just do good in our community because it deserves it.
Yeah, 100% agree. And we're trying to build a better community out here, right? It's a great community, and we want to make it better than how we received it. So
I mean, that is all you can truly do.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, the country and the world depends on y'all's success.
That's right.
So.
Yeah. So we're happy that you guys gave us an opportunity to share our voices.
I'm glad you did it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
And thank you all for what you do for our industry as well, because it's very important getting our message out.
We love it. Truly, it is for the industry.
And congratulations on the growth you guys have seen. It's incredible.
I just let David yell at me for an hour every couple of weeks.
Working pretty
I
good.
don't believe that. I've never seen him raise his voice, not once. Cool and collected.
You guys, you're here too. You guys, your spots are great. So congrats on your business.
Yeah,
Success, and
thank you.
Good luck to you and your families out here.
Yeah, and thank you to Daniel Energy Partners for hosting this thing.
Yeah.
What a great event.
Congrats
yeah,
to John and his team.
The Oilfield 360 podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors: Locked In Global Energy and Marine, uncommonly independent. Locked In is the world's largest privately owned insurance broker and risk finance advisor. Locked In's global energy expertise is centered in Houston and represents the largest concentration of energy specialists, clients, and experiential knowledge in the upstream, midstream, and downstream segments of the oil and gas industry. Visit lockedin.com for more information. Upright Digital. Upright Digital specializes in partnering with your business to maximize marketing efficiencies. We have a deep understanding of people, their needs, motivations, behaviors, as well as the technologies that enable brands in many industries to utilize what is available in a changing digital landscape. Find us online at uprightdigital.com.